Start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our chair is a little behind, and we should be here shortly, so I will open the meeting. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions? And because he's not here, we don't all have them in front of us, so I will read what's on the agenda. First item is acceptance of agenda, community spirit, old business, update on sale of Audi, new business, is it Lenape Towing, or is it Lenape?
Well, they say it both ways, so you can
Okay.
choose.
So-
It was actually Butterville Road, though, is where the issue was.
Okay, seized assets, item number 2, under new business. 3, acceptance of minutes, although 4, monthly report. 5, election of temporary chair. Community spirit recap, and then motion to enter executive session. Are there any changes, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to community spirit. Is there any community spirit or public comment?
There is not.
Okay. Old business, update on the sale of the Audi.
We did not receive any bids for the Audi. The starting bid, from what I understand, seemed to be a little high from what I guess was told to the clerk's office. In speaking with Commissioner Margolis, we're going to look at the value of it if we were to trade it in for a replacement administrative car and see what that value would be. Once we get that number, we can decide if we want to open up a bid again with what we are guaranteed to get on trade, and then see if we get any more, or we can just trade it in, at the time of the purchase of another car. So I will check and see the value and what is offered.
And I don't know whether or not the conversation was serious or not, but there were conversations at the town board meeting that they may want to use it for a town car for some reason. I don't know, but like I said, I don't know whether or not it was a serious comment or not, but
I would hope it was.
Well, I know
I
that
would
they
go
complained
for
that,
getting rid of it.
complaints came in that they're driving it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would
Yeah.
appreciate it any more if the town was driving it, but.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know whether or not that was a serious comment, but it was,
Just upkeep on a car like that starts catching up to you.
It's expensive. It's expensive. Butterville Road towing, under new business.
As you are aware, I did receive, several emails and concerns. I did open up an investigation into what took place in regards to some vehicles being towed in regards to the snow being blown over Butterville Road. I'm still in the process of reviewing some things, but it appears at this time that the patrol officers followed policy and procedure, did everything that they were supposed to have done under the circumstances of a road that's covered over with snow drifts. The highway department was notified. In order for them to plow the road, the vehicles needed to be removed. Again, protocol was followed. I believe the big issue seems to be the amount of the tow fees, seems to be the most upsetting part of this. I am scheduling a meeting with the tow companies, hopefully next week, at which I believe one of the commissioners may want to be there, as well as the town supervisor, to talk about the fees and, why they are what they are, and determine if maybe there'll be a decrease in the tow fee scale. So maybe that will be what comes out of this whole circumstance. But as far as any wrongdoing by the agency or the officers, protocol appears to have been followed with everything. Obviously, parking tickets, that will be brought in front of the court, and the court will decide. And the tow fee would be a civil action if that was ever something that the people that had their vehicles towed would want to go after on that nature.
And you had a meeting with the
I did
folks
meet
who
with a couple,
had
yes.
concern, and they are
Well, I explained everything, and I reviewed everything that I had. They do understand where we're at. There is some question, again, whether they feel that they should have still been towed. However, protocol was followed. When the highway department requests vehicles be removed because of the roads needing to be cleared for safety issues, that's what we do. We actually facilitate the towing for the highway departments, and we do it for the village and the town. But again, it's the roads and the wind was gusting up in that area. Some of the video that we have from the patrol car, you can see, the snow coming across as well.
Right. Chris just came in, so that folks know, the way that it happens is during your regular patrol, not your, but the department's regular patrol, they saw that there were drifts on Butterville.
Correct.
And the procedure is for them to notify the highway department,
Correct.
and then the highway department comes out to do the tow to make the roads safe.
Well, the highway department will come out and they'll assess the roadway also. We notify them of any icy conditions and/or snow-covered roads. This day was with the wind drifts coming across, so it was the day after the snowstorm or several hours after the snowstorm. The roads have been cleared, prior to this. However, due to the winds, it was blowing snow across the roadway again, right in the area where the bridge is, which is a dangerous location because of the narrow access point under the bridge as well as the icy roads. So our officers notified the highway department, letting them know. They came up and assessed the roadway, and they did have to plow. However, they were unable to plow the roads with all the vehicles parked in the roadway and in that location. So then our protocol is, at that point, that if the vehicles need to be removed, we facilitate the tow companies to come to remove the vehicles. We also issue parking tickets for whatever the violation may have been as well. They are two separate things, writing parking tickets and towing vehicles. The protocol is that we write the parking tickets, but again, due to the emergency situation of needing to get vehicles removed to clear the roadways, they're, again, two separate things because the vehicles can be towed without an actual summons being issued.
When I was at the meeting that they came to talk to the town board, the concern raised was that in addition to the tow fee being exorbitant, I think it was like, what, $270?
Yeah, with the tax, yes.
For them. And I indicated to them that generally the police department, when they patrol there, if nobody's called, they don't generally run around writing tickets for people who were parked inches and millimeters on to the blacktop.
No, if somebody's
Some
parked on the road,
discretion is used.
discretion is used. That actual location up there, we do get complaints on frequently, by some residents in the area. We have issued parking tickets there before, and people have left notes on their cars telling them that they can't be parking there, some residents in the area. So it is one of those locations, but, if it's not causing a hazard or it's not interfering with some, either emergency operation or, vehicle traffic, then we won't tow the cars, whether a parking ticket will get issued. We do write parking tickets on occasion, depending on how far they are on the road. If they're just touching the pavement, that's a different story. But even...
But a ticket could still be written for
a ticket can be written. Bottom line, if you're parked, in the roadway, or if there's white markings on other roadways, if you cross the white marking, without white markings, it's just touching the pavement. There were some cars that were legally parked because there was question why some tickets were written, some weren't. There were some cars that were off the road. Another car that could have been issued a ticket, although was not really in the need to be towed because it wasn't interfering with the cleanup in that side street. The person got in the car and moved prior to the police, finishing that action. There was another vehicle that pulled away also prior to the officer getting up to it that was on Butterville Road. 3 cars were off the road totally. Then there were a couple more cars right by the bridge that were sticking out in the road. One was actually parked facing in with the back end out, and the other one was in the roadway. So again, the question was whether we took photos. No photos were taken, but we did have the ability for the police car to have video that was running that actually has the positioning of all the cars.
And I want to I'll finish this agenda item and then turn it back over to you. And then I want to, Chris, when you call them, Are there any specific criteria that you use before you call the police to have them come have the cars towed, or it's just that they're in the way?
Usually just they're in the way.
Okay.
Not in this particular instance, but like in our usual plow run, we'll find a car parked on the road, left outside someone's house. And what we do is we try and have the PD call the home first, move the car, and sometimes they can do it, sometimes they can't. Our second run around, if it hasn't been done, then we decide we have to get the truck through there, then we have it towed.
And
Or we request to have it towed.
Okay. And then the only last question that I have, and I presume this is probably what would happen if this were the case, if there were a car parked, because I know that a lot of the concern was, suppose somebody had medicine in the car, so on and so forth. Had there been an instance where a car was parked in that situation, would the officer have discretion to perhaps just ticket it and not have it towed if perhaps it had, a sticker from the state indicating that the person who owns and occupies the car has disability?
I mean, that wouldn't make a difference in a circumstance where a vehicle has to be removed due to cleanup. We can't weigh out all the factors of what the hypotheticals may be or what the possibilities can be. And a handicap sticker in a window doesn't necessarily mean that they have medication that's that they need as soon as they get back to the car. This unfortunately didn't give us the ability to go knock on the door because it's parked by a field where the people that were in it ended up that they were on a 6 to 12 mile run. So the time from when they went none of that was known, and the vehicles had to be moved.
Any questions, any comments from anybody on
They
this?
should carpool if that's an issue in the future. If you know it's going to be snowing, there's not going to be, those of us who live over there, the parking's limited to begin with, and then when you guys aren't plowing out parking spots for people, right, Chris? So there's going to be no park. You're going to know that there's not going to be parking there.
Yeah. I think there's somebody that lives up in the area that actually plows a small portion that people can actually park. We've seen that area kind of plowed out a little bit, but it only can hold maybe 3 cars.
Yeah.
And when people go up there when there's no snow, they pull off the shoulder of the road to park on the grass. Like I said, sometimes residents, if they're touching the roadway, will get a call on it. Depending on how far they're out, we'll issue a ticket, or if it's just a little bit, we'll try to just resolve the situation. And the one homeowner up there will leave a note on cars like, you can't park here, next time I'm calling the police to have it towed.
Yeah.
That wasn't the circumstance this time. This was just there's nowhere for them to park, and in a circumstance where there's nowhere to park, you have to make a decision if you can stay there or if you need to pick another day.
So the beef is really, in regards, the 275 plus tax.
Well, the 270 was with the tax. It's a 250 tow, and then the tax is on top of that.
So that's really the town board, that's,
Yeah.
falls on
We
our
don't
lap.
set those
Yeah.
fees. It's set by
I
adoption of the
don't,
town.
even though they also had the issue, and we talked about the issue that they had with getting to the proper place where the car was stored. We talked about this as a commission before about probably the advantage to the town, maintaining its own storage facility for towed cars, which could, to some degree, bring in a little bit of money to offset some of the costs for some of this stuff, because the town doesn't make any money off the towing, which is unusual because in most municipalities and towns, they tack on a fee for the charge.
Yeah, some have administrative fee, we don't. And I know that's always a concern, like, how much is the town making on it, and we don't make anything on it. The parking tickets were $15 each, and that's not anything of any substance.
So no points, are there?
No points, no, it's just a parking violation. But also out of this, one of the questions that came up also is that our protocol has been over the years that when you come to the station to have your car released, sometimes they'll go right to the location, but we'll approve the release of it. But before the vehicle is actually released, they have to bring the receipt to us, to the station. Excuse me. so we can put it with the impound sheet, and then we can release it. This way we're sure it's been paid and it's, that it's actually released before we take it out of our system. Maybe now with, modern technology of faxes and stuff, we may be able to revisit, that idea and see if there's something different that maybe we can do to help, again, not necessarily with this incident because it's past, but what can we do maybe and learn from this that we can maybe adjust for the future?
Okay. Anything else on the towing? I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry. These assets that the money,
Thank you. Yes, I want to request we need to replace a couple of the laptops, computers in the cars. So we have 2 of them to be replaced that were the original ones we put in 2007. The replacement for those, for 2 of them, they come to about $4,300. So I'm asking for the commission to authorize and send a note to the town board to release, they're up to $4,500. It says 43, but just in case there's any,
tax?
How many
well,
is
there's no
there?
tax, we don't pay tax. If there's any fees for any brackets on top of that, but up to $4,500 for the 2 computers. They're about,
These are for the car?
yes, yep, there's a replacing 2 older ones. These are the same type that we're using now. They're the Life Books. They are touchscreen. That's the only difference from what the original older ones were also. But as we're starting to have some complications with them, the cost to keep them repaired, is outweighing just replacing them.
Any discussion on that?
How many computers?
2.
2.
And we can justify this,
In the car.
Through the
sees that,
account.
but
Yep.
usually, so it's something related to, it's usually a specific
For
category.
safety,
Okay.
face safety officers and what they're used for in the cars for relaying the information. And it's not an item that we budgeted, because if it was a budgeted item, you can't do it either.
And it doesn't cost taxpayers anything because the money's already sitting there. And all what we have to do is just officially ask the town board to release that money.
Correct.
And so somebody would like to make a motion to send them the letter requesting the release? Steve?
I'll second.
Second by Jake. Justin, all those in favor?
All right.
So passed. I'll write a letter and I'll get it over to the town board either tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that I would ask you to do as far as the C's account, I've been waiting to get a copy of the report of the balance from the beginning of the year, what was spent, what we received in from
Is this the beginning of
the
this
other
year?
vehicle. Yeah. 2012.
I got the one for 2012.
Do you?
Thought I gave it
For the
to you.
C's account? No.
Because that was the one I was checking on. If you recall, they were supposed to have transferred some assets for the dog.
We're at the beginning of the year, yep.
Yeah, and they didn't. At the beginning of the year, I'll get you.
Do you have something recent?
I have the most recent balance in the account.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been asking for it, and it's been a little delay, and we have to be in compliance with the feds on
I'll
this.
get you a copy
And
of
we're
that.
starting that report, it's that time of the year again. So now, we've asked a couple months ago, but now it's coming down to that we need it for the compliance report.
No, because I gotten that, I thought I gave you a copy, I apologize, because I gotten a copy of that when I found out that they hadn't transferred the amount for the dog, and it was still sitting in our account, and they had taken that money out of the general account that we needed for the dog instead of the seized assets account. So they were supposed to transfer it back. I'll get you a copy of that, like I said, I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Probably Monday.
All right, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. So, minutes. Any motion to accept the minutes?
I didn't have any corrections, and that's some other stuff. I didn't have any corrections.
Okay, so we have what, 3 sets, right? Becky, we have 3 sets to approve. Special meeting of the 28th. You don't have that? Yeah. It was the email that I sent the addendum to the,
That wasn't part of that I have to fix the minutes, because I have, whatever you sent me, I thought was what happened.
oh no, it was the 2. It was the 2, okay. So we'll hold off on
I'll
that.
have to look back at what you sent me, because I didn't know it was tweaked different to me.
Yeah, it was two, one was the special meeting the 28th, and then it was the addendum to the meeting when we had special, went into executive session, and approved the transfer of personnel.
All right, I'll have to look and
Okay, so,
see the exact. So I only have the one
okay,
from the regular meeting.
okay.
So I might have put everything in that one. You could just send me one email for all three?
No, I sent you one email for the 2 executive sessions.
Maybe I didn't even get that one. Because I only had the email saying what happened. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I'll
All
look
right, so
through it and I'll just
we'll
email
just
you
hold
if I
off
had
until
them.
the next meeting, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Do we have a motion on the regular meeting?
Huh?
You need to do a motion on the regular meeting?
I move we accept the minutes from the regular meeting, what was that, January?
No, December.
Is it this? Oh, this is,
We're in January, this is the January meeting.
is it December 12th?
I don't know, what am I counting?
13th.
December 13th, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Somebody, thank you. All those in favor? Huh?
So you abstain.
So you abstain?
That's what I said, abstain.
Monthly reports. Anybody got anything they want to discuss on the monthly reports? Well, let's do the, we'll get to the chief's report on the monthly report first.
As far as defensive action reports, we just had one for the month.
That was a kid.
Yeah, it was a juvenile, 16 years of age, 5'8", 160 pounds, medium build. Officers responded to a domestic. I won't get into the circumstances of the call itself, but when he was uncooperative, he was charged, because at 16 you can be charged as an adult, even though you're a youth, but he's 16, and he was charged with obstructing governmental administration and harassment in the second degree.
And that was of his mom, right?
Yes, correct, yeah. It was a family issue. The officer used a wrist lock to take the subject into custody. There was no injury and no rescue squad needed or anything further. We have, how are you?
Good.
We have 3 letters of commendation in the report. I know the initial report says 2, because I had one that was buried on my desk that I included into your report, so you do have it. That was the one issued by the Ulster County District Attorney's Office, basically complimenting Detective Sergeant Lucchese and, at the time, Detective Butler, who's Sergeant Butler now. They handled a case in regards to a criminal sexual act in the first degree, and they're thanking, it was a successful prosecution, and they wanted to compliment the detectives for their great work that they did, their preparation. And I would like to say that this isn't that unique in the work that our detectives do, because this is a frequent compliment that we get, that our agency is one of the agencies that have everything in order and really prepared nicely to have successful prosecutions. That's a very nice letter that was written from the District Attorney's Office. Another letter we have is just thanking myself and also Detective Sergeant Lucchese. At one of our staff meetings, we had a member of the Ulster County Crime Victims come to the meeting. We've worked very well with that organization for many years, and we actually cherish the work that they do. But they appreciate the fact that we work with them continuously so that crime victims can get the proper assistance that they need through our county. Then we have a letter, and I was unable to find out which officer or officers that it was. A lady came to the station. She was lost. When she pulled into the parking lot, she saw a couple officers in the parking lot that assisted in giving directions to where she was going. Her GPS was not working correctly. and she wanted to thank us. Based on the time that she gave me, I tried to review cameras to see which officers may have been involved, but I was unable to locate which officers. The time could have been off. But again, it's always nice to get a letter from a community member thanking us for things of that nature.
You did receive letters from Billy, did you not?
From Billy?
Yeah, the kid that I brought over to you. The-
Yes, was that I think last month I
Last
brought,
month, okay.
yeah.
I wanted to make sure that,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he sent a card.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I hope that was in last month. I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was, I recall.
Yeah.
It's your nephew?
No, it
His
was
friend,
a
yeah.
friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I knew.
and he wants to be a cop, so.
Yeah. That was a cute story.
He also wanted to be locked up in a cell, but we didn't have one of those.
And I'd also like to mention, Joe, the undersheriff from Ulster County Sheriff's Department, as well as the captain,
Captain Rob
State
Nuzzo
Police.
from the State Police.
came to the school district last Monday in regards to school safety, and I really think the three of them did a really great job giving a presentation. It really put that in community at ease, and myself as an educator, and really, getting a sense that they really are behind us. They're going to help us, help guide the district, and really make sure things are all safe for everything, and not be crazy and whatnot. And they're not going overboard with some areas maybe, but I think it made me feel good, and a lot of community members and teachers, etc. Thanks.
We did talk about that sort of briefly when I met with you before. Can you talk about some of the things that
Well, but
that we do, in response to things that
New Paltz School
Newtown
District,
and stuff?
New Paltz School District has had a very good policy in effect, working along with the police agency, where we do drills, lockdown drills, to follow the best protocols possible. These things change all the time based on what's going on and when other events occur, so it's a continued work in progress. But we do work very well with them on that. Based on, we're still waiting for the final report. The state police are actually, because the Connecticut State Police are handling that incident there, we're waiting for them to have a final report, and New York State Police will be dealing with them to get a synopsis of exactly what happened in a timeline, so we can better learn from what occurred there. At this point, no report's been released, only what people are hearing in the papers and the press, and a lot of that isn't really accurate. So, we're kind of holding off on the Chiefs Association side of releasing anything. But in the meantime, working with all the school districts in the county, and that's one of the things we did at the New Paltz School, we are, thinking of what we can do now to better protect our kids in our schools. More drills will take place, more ideas are being kicked around. The schools are talking about some cameras that they may install at their entrances and parking lots so that they can maybe see a perpetrator approaching the building. So there's a lot of different things. What we're going to do also is we are going to, during the course of the day, not a specific time, but when we're passing a school, an officer will stop in the school, just check at the school. It won't just be our department. You'll see the state police, the sheriff's department, and they'll be just during their routine day, and they may only be there 5 minutes, they may be there for a half hour. It all depends on, what's going on in their day as well. But we are starting to do that as well.
So that's the change from what you used to do?
That's
So
a change,
This
yes.
is a step up to, okay.
A big part of our community, but we're not really unique in that, is that a lot of times parents don't want the police presence in a school. And, I understand there's different arguments both ways. In the past, it's been difficult to have an officer in a school because of, even the board members of the school district, that don't agree on how that should be handled. With the horrific events that occurred in Connecticut, there's a little bit more leniency at this point to say, we're not talking about arming the schools, we're not talking about, having an officer in a school all day long, but we're talking about periodic checks to the school and not having anything, let it be a random time that we're going in, so that you may not know when you're going to see an officer at the school. So if you're somebody that's looking to do harm, and you know that the officers come and go, it may be a good deterrent. So that's, one of the things that we're hoping for.
Do you know, well, when I went to school, way, way back when the earth first cooled,
Walking in snow up to here barefoot.
we had security, I mean, we did have security officers in all the schools. I mean, I went to school in Baltimore. So there were, I mean, do the schools here have security, so they're,
Some schools do. Kingston has security. Wallkill has security, but they don't carry weapons.
right,
And we used to have, not New Paltz, but other schools had resource officers that were present at the school. With budget cuts and stuff, that's kind of been pulled back at a lot of locations, including ours, because we did the DARE program. Having security officers, and then if you're speaking of them being armed, it's a whole other topic, and there's still a lot of controversy on, whether they want weapons in a school, because there are pros and cons to it, so there's a lot of talk that's going to still take place, and don't know if anything else is going to change. I know the big issue obviously also is budgets. Towns don't have the budgets to, put an officer or dedicate an officer to schools. The school budget don't have that ability at this point. So we're doing the best we can with what we have to offer the best protection and security that we can.
But I think it's great. I've already noticed officers in the schools, and it's a little adjustment because you're not used to seeing. Because what we're used to, if you see a police car out front, something went wrong.
Something went wrong.
Everyone's like, what happened?
Yep. And we want to change.
Teachers are worse than
We want to change that
kids, so.
concept. So.
But it's really, it's going to take a little time, but I think it's adjustment. I think it's really good to see officer. I was in Duzine, and Joe Judge was walking through there, and he went to Duzine as a student, so it was, really nice for him to come back. And actually, I was with a kid, and he had a chance to talk to one. Joe got down to the student, a little first grader, and started talking to him and stuff. And it was really, it was really nice for the kids to see police in that type of, as a role model, also as a person they can look up to, not the guy that's giving mommy a ticket or something.
Yeah. And a lot of us went to the school district here, as you just said. Some of the troopers or sheriff's department members, they didn't go to our schools, or some of them may have, but you don't get as many, locals as you do with a local agency. So the good thing also about walking through the school is it's going to get familiar with the school, know where the music wing is, know where the auditorium, the cafeteria, the gyms, so that if we do have to respond in an event, there's a little more familiarity to it as well.
you said there was, some parents were not like real thrilled about.
In the past or just recently?
Is it recent or is it?
In the past, that's how it was. You still have that, but I think overall, the group of people that attended the forum that we held Monday night, there was a more support than not to have some type of police presence. And again, not that we're going to be in there, from the time you get off the bus to the time you, get back on it, but just more of a presence.
And we have should something like this happen, we have adequate facilities and everything to do what needs to be done? Should we have to respond to an incident like this in our?
Yeah, we train for it. You hope that it never happens, but you train for it. We do firearms training a couple times a year, as well as we do active shooter training. And when we do active shooter training, we do that with other agencies. We've used campus, we've been in the schools in the past, not recently, but we've used the schools, and, if you do train for these type of things. But, it's,
Okay.
you always be prepared, for the worst.
What I'd like to do now, hopefully, which we didn't do last month, was in accordance to the way we
Are we
had.
finished with, is this
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The monthly report, unless somebody's got anything else on the monthly report.
The only thing that I want to just throw out to you, you get a gas log report that is filled out by one of the sergeants. There is sheets that come out each individual car. He takes a breakdown of this and puts it on the report for a final report. I just wanted to pass this out. You can review it, look at it. I don't know if you want this included. I think it gets a lot more paper, but it might be something that you might be interested
The
in.
problem with the gas log report is, and I've said it before, is your program doesn't work. It doesn't show the actual mileages for when it's done. The report we get has, added mileages, subtracted mileages. If the car hasn't moved, it adds it in and it changes the whole So,
Well,
I
this
mean,
is a little different. This is a running report that comes from the
if nobody
gas
objects,
company
I'll
itself.
take a look at this and, you know.
That's why I'm saying you may like that better than.
No, because I know I
And the
stopped
officer
looking
doesn't
at
have
the
to
gas
do the work.
reports, because the gas report says you get, you know, great, but when you start to go into the detail of the report, you see, well, wait a minute, this car hasn't moved, you know, you've got an average, and you've included an average of a car that hasn't moved. When you put 0 into your averages, you're throwing your whole average all off. And that was, you know, the problem you have with your total program. And that's why I've never.
Well, if it's not being driven, it's not taking gas either.
No, but when you're averaging gas and one car takes 2 miles, one car gives you 2 miles, and one car gives you another car gives you 2 miles, and the third car gives you 0, you got a problem in the average. I mean, I'm using the thing, because you're decreasing it, it brings it down to like, you know, 1.9 or whatever when you do that math, when you add those mathematics into it. So it's just, I'm saying that report, well, okay,
Yeah,
let
we'll
me
look
take
that
let me
over and
take a
see
look
if
at
you
this
like that a little
report,
better
and
then.
if you
So are
don't-
cars, let me, to make sure I'm following you, are cars that are not used included in that report?
They are included only, but they'll show 0 gas mileage or 0 miles. You still have the miles. So I'm a little lost with what he's saying because,
Well, because you have 5 cars doing 4 miles. Well, excuse me, you have 3, well, in my example, you have 3 cars doing 4 miles, and it's really only 2 cars doing 4 miles. When you look at your report, the way it's done.
but it's only showing miles if the car was
Yes,
gassed
I
and
understand
driven.
it, but it's showing there as a car. So if you're adding up that report, and it says you have 3 cars doing 4 miles is different average, it will give you a different average than if you show 2 cars doing 4 miles. And when you're doing the total mileage and how much mileage and how much gas, et cetera, is being consumed, chief, you're distorting that average because you've got a 0 factor in there. And that's what I was saying, and you have that in your reports. Also, as you told me, sometimes the reports are not current because you don't get all the information or whatever. This may be...
Okay, I see what you're saying. You're talking about, I don't know if they include it when it has a 0, but I will look
They
at-
did, they do,
They
that's
did?
why, yeah, that's why, and it was a problem with your program and the way it was being done. So like I said, I stopped looking, you know, although you're ahead of budget on gas, which is very good, because, well, the price is coming down again, it's the averages, you know, the gas average that you're getting per
So
car.
the average is what's off, you're saying?
Is way off, because you
So
have a number
can
of
you,
those.
is it simply easier to, you can include those cars that are not being used, that are not getting gas, but when you compute the average, you discount those cars that have had 0 mileage and have had no butt sitting in them and riding around, and that's how you compute your average, which wouldn't distort it for the cars that are in fact being used. Is that?
If I'm understanding him correctly, and you, if they, yeah, because that would actually increase, right, the amount per gallon if we're getting rid of a 0. So instead of 10 cars with that amount of gas that was used, it should really be 9 cars because we didn't use the 10, which would increase the average miles per gallon.
No, what it'll do is it'll increase well, you're decreasing the average mile, yeah, well, it'll put it not, I don't want to, it's not increasing it, what it'll do is it'll bring it back up to what it should be.
Make
as-
it more realistic.
Yeah.
Thank you,
yeah.
I was like stumbling for the word there, Gene, thank you.
Is it in Excel?
Huh? I don't
Yes,
know
that's in Excel.
what program it
Then
uses.
Fix the formula.
That's what I've been saying, but, you know, I don't have the thing. But let me look at this, because I think this
That may be something that,
This may be a little even better. 'cause
I'll
it
give
tells
that to you
us who's
instead.
driving, you know, and everything else. It's just one more pile to add to the pack of paper, what the heck? Anything else on the monthly report, gentlemen? Okay. Moving right along. As we have always done in the past for the last 2 years, I'd like to elect a temporary chair to fill in the chair slot until the town board reappoints or appoints or whatever they're gonna do new commissioners. And the reason we use a temporary chair is because we felt in the past that it wasn't fair to appoint a chair to a group of people, like we have 3 openings right now, you know, that they may be refilled, we don't know what the town's gonna do. And we always felt it wasn't fair to those new people coming in to be set with a chair that they didn't have any say in. So we usually elect a temporary chair just to fill in until that's done. And in our first meeting, when everybody's been appointed, we either make it permanent or go along. So I'd like to follow that old policy at this point and get a nomination for a temporary chair. Well, I'll make one if nobody else
I'll
does.
nominate Randall.
I was just saying I would nominate Randall. Hopefully this time he will say yes.
I have their choice, right?
Oh, you have a choice. You said no last
I'm
time.
the only
You got
one
me-
left. I win.
Yeah. Any other people interested? All those in favor, please say aye. Unanimous?
No.
Now you got all the work. Okay, any more community spirit?
Actually, I do. At the beginning I said, no, I don't have any, and then I remembered that I did. I witnessed, and well, actually, I didn't witness it. I heard it, and then we ran outside. I was at Clarkson's. There's a pretty bad accident with a motorcyclist and a car yesterday on the very corner, the intersection of Shivertown and 32 North. I haven't really seen something like this before, and the aftermath of it, and all of that, and how many people, both community members, and I was surprised at how many people were right there that are people I knew, but also, the rescue squad, the fire department, the police department, and how everybody just jumped into action. And I would like to commend everybody that was there for what they were doing. The guy who was on the motorcycle actually was an EMT. Everyone was like, don't move, don't move. He was like, I know. But I was wondering more about, somebody said that lives down that road that this happens fairly often at that intersection. It was dusk, and it was, I don't know exactly what happened, but maybe, just the time of day really messes with people's ability to see. But has there ever been any talk, and this isn't necessarily in your purview, but, I know you're a part of the rescue squad, and obviously you experience these kinds of things all the time. Is there ever been talk about putting in an actual traffic light there?
That's
Or-
at Shivertown and 32.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, my friend owns that garage that's right there, and he says, oh, there's always
They
something
were
Those-
some of the people who snapped
Good
into action
accidents
were
there.
the-
right there. Yeah.
lot of
yeah,
injuries.
the people that were walking down the street that were, just kind of making a left said that they kind of see this happening all the time. And I know that there's been talk about how to slow traffic as it comes into the village, like by, Sunset Ridge and where BOCES is, but, that intersection, do we know the statistics of how bad it is there, and is it worth looking into? And I guess I'm kind of just putting this question out there. Is this something that I should bring anywhere else, or
Is there a
what
traffic
do all
safety
think?
committee still for the
I
town?
don't know. I do know that they have
Has it
the-
met?
I think it's the town.
It hasn't met in 4 years.
Yeah, there
Wait,
used to be
what?
a traffic safety
The
committee.
town used to have a traffic
Oh.
safety committee.
But it's got a flashing yellow and
Right,
a flashing
Flashing red.
But the problem is when you're going south, you come around the bend there, and, you've got people probably coming out.
Waiting to turn and stuff like that.
And, all of
Yeah.
a sudden a car appears and bam. So.
Right. The person was actually driving on 32, heading south, making a left, and the motorcycle was coming up 32, heading north. So they both were on 32, but it was that left turn. There were a lot of other cars in the area. Definitely was a traffic stop.
The light that's there was actually put in because of the accidents.
Because of the accidents.
When it was
okay.
just a stop sign years ago.
Right.
And they put the light there for, decreasing the number of accidents, which it has helped over the years.
Okay.
It's a flashing light.
Yeah.
What might be used, and again, it's not for us, but maybe there should be a sign, a sign that's, traffic signal
Further
ahead
up,
or something.
yeah.
There should be something, traffic
was there
signal
one?
ahead or.
Trying to remember, I go by it every day, I'm trying to remember what's there.
I think
Right, it's hard to think
when you're
of
coming
the
southbound, I think there used to be a
looking at
sign
it,
there.
yeah.
Don't know if it's still there, but I think there used to be a sign saying traffic signal ahead, and it still might be. I'm not sure, but if not, maybe I can give a call, or I don't know if you, would you
I
call
mean,
DOT?
I'll look tomorrow, if there isn't, I'll put in a call to the state.
Okay.
Because it's a state roadway, they'd be the ones responsible for it.
Yeah. Just because, I mean, if it's happening fairly frequently, even if it's decreased, you know, it shows that there's still an issue in that area. I mean, and obviously we can't prevent accidents, but, you know, if we can mitigate it as much as possible. You know, I was personally really shaken up by the whole thing. I felt like all this anxiety over it, and I said, oh God, we got to do something about this. How do we prevent things like this? But, you know, and the people there obviously deal with this all the time and see these things all the time. And it gave me a lot of insight into, you know, how
Yeah.
situations
I
are
mean, you go
handled
there
and
and
dealt
it's
with.
like,
So.
there's always,
There's always
a
something,
fender bender
exactly.
there. And speaking of traffic, we talked about the Shivertown Road with the weight restrictions
Yes.
on that. And then just as, and good that you're here, but as last night, as we were leaving another meeting, a ginormous tractor trailer was going up Plattekill Avenue towards the college from 32. And it's my understanding that you've had conversations with the folks who those trucks belong to, or who they're making deliveries. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I'll mention.
You talking
it
about a
later.
garbage truck?
No, it's a, you know, it's a food delivery.
It's a supply truck.
Okay.
Going to see
Well, it's not, it wasn't going, it was offloading stuff, I believe, at one of the drink stores down at the, I'll tell you what it is, but they were going up
Yeah.
Plattekill. I guess it was what?
It was
Quarter 11 o'clock
It
last
was
night?
close to 12.
Close to 12 last
No,
night.
no, you're right, because it was
Yeah.
probably a little closer to 11, I'm
So-
sorry.
What were you guys doing up that late?
That was just the
We just
start.
left the consolidation meeting. Consolidation Finance Committee's report, and we were all standing outside just in awe.
Well, I will say that, you know, in terms of addressing that matter, there is a lot of signage around town about where trucks can and can't drive, and so that's one of the things that we want to address, and you know, it's got to be a budgetary item, of course, so we're looking at that for the 2013-14 fiscal year. But I mean, you know, it's hard to fault people, even if you talk to their supervisors, hard to fault the driver when there isn't a sign present. So once that is in place, then you can step in more regularly and, you know.
Well, let me
The problem
throw-
there, too, is twofold, is that even if you had weight limits, this, that, the other thing, usually, and I may be wrong, waive trucks that have to make deliveries. In other words, if you see these no through, except for
through
those that,
traffic.
the
Except for
deliveries. So
deliveries,
the guy was making a delivery,
Right.
and, you know, it's bad, but, you know, what are you going to, do? You're going to tell the store you can't have deliveries. You know, you can't do that. And it wasn't a time when there wasn't really, you know, traffic or whatever.
Right.
Just to be fair to the truck driver, you know.
And the purpose also is,
Off of 32.
I'm sorry.
Maybe it should be off of 32 and not off of Plattekill.
the sign.
There's a possibility that you can make your delivery that way.
Right,
Because
'cause there is a
Plattekill
loading zone.
Is a residential area with
Yeah, I'm not
sidewalks.
saying,
Right.
but all I'm saying is right now, the truck, you know, was making a delivery. We're presuming we made a delivery. We just saw this big, massive, you know,
Right.
18-wheeler come,
Go around the corner.
yeah.
There's also the suggestion of just doing it during business hours or certain hours of the day.
Yeah.
So it's not at
Well,
a
the other-
midnight hour where
the
it
other-
could be a more disruptive time.
The other thing I want to throw to you as a village trustee is, as I come into the village from the town during the day, the middle of the day, you guys might want to consider, and I know it's an awful thing to say, but eliminating the parking spot that is on the very corner of 32 and Main Street, because I've seen a number of huge tractor trailers trying to make that left turn off of 32 to go north onto go
Right.
east onto Main Main Street, Chestnut,
Okay, yeah.
and I'm telling you, when they get to going around that corner and there's a car parked there on the corner, you're seeing cars in 2 lanes that are going west,
That's on
trying
the
to
docket.
maneuver to get out of the way of a truck that's going to end up clipping them because there's nowhere for them to move.
Right, you're talking about the spots on...
In front of
on
Fat Bob's, is it Fat Bob's?
It's not
Well,
Fat Bob's
Oh,
anymore,
okay,
it's,
on 299
I can't-
south.
It's on
Got it.
299.
It's some weird-
Okay.
yeah.
It's in front of Fat Bob. It's right there
Old
on
type
that
of-
corner of is it Fat
Old
Bob?
Ches Joey's.
Zaggy's.
Yeah, that's-
Whatever.
Zaggy's, that's what it was. It was sort of as a,
But yeah, I mean, there isn't a day that I don't go that you see one, and it's either, the mobile trucks or, other food delivery trucks. So you might want to consider moving that because it could cause a problem eventually.
And if I had my druthers, I would have the village get rid of all, no street parking from Platic Hill down to North Chestnut. I know business owners will, you put a bike lane in there. It is a complete nightmare driving down that road. You have people riding on bikes, you have young people trying to cross streets, jaywalking.
And it
It is a
narrows.
complete night. You have, like you're saying, the 18-wheelers making the turns up. I've lived in this town 17 years. I've never once had to park there. I never thought to. There's plenty of places to park in town and walk. I mean,
But that particular
I
block.
would love to quote you on that and have
quote
you
me
tell
on that.
other people.
Well, you know what?
I happen to agree, but I'm also...
But you know where
very much a
else?
pedestrian.
There are 2 spots in that section that could go. That one at the far end of Chestnut and 299, and the one that's at the top where you can turn in to go. Is that Cabalusa or
Yes.
where church is?
Yes,
Where
yeah.
the street narrows, and if somebody in a ginormous SUV parks in that corner, you
There's
end
no
up.
visibility there.
There's no
Yeah.
visibility for people coming out to
Out
make
of
a left
that
or a
lot,
turn.
yeah.
Or if somebody wants to make a left, which of course, in my view, there should be no left turn off of 299 onto Church Street going west. But going east, but that's another thing. But you can't get through that area when you've got cars coming in
Yeah.
and a ginormous SUV, and the lane merges and collapses there. It causes a bottleneck.
There's a parking plan, a large-scale parking plan that has items that are immediate, budgetary for 2013, 2014, and then more long-term because of like contractual things, bonding issues, grants. But one of the things that has been talked about for many years now is the idea of closing that section of Church Street from basically where the guardrail is by the Bistro parking lot to Academy Street, creating a little pocket park so that people could not turn down that street, and it would also create more of like an open space for people to maybe sit and eat something or whatever it is. There's also issues of safety that maybe we can discuss at another point in time that people will have concerns about. But the idea would also be that we would create a pedestrian walkway in where people would pull out of that lot and have a one entrance where we could put the Unimeter into that municipal lot. But all of this is like, large-scale project that does not yet have board approval and would probably need grant funding and definitely agreements with the people, the owners of the space between, the Gourmet and Rock de Pasta, basically where that lot is. But I totally hear what you're saying, and it is definitely on our radar.
And a parking spot by My Hero that blocks people's visibility when they're pedestrians in that crosswalk that's in the weirdest part of the section
that
where it
is
needs
already
to go.
that's already on the list. The corner of Grove Street and the corner of Oakwood, because especially if a large car is parked there, or if you're a short person, like myself, then you cannot be seen when you're trying to cross the streets. So I completely agree with everything that all of you are saying, and this is on their radar. And actually, I should send you the parking plan. It's posted on Facebook, but I'm barely on Facebook, so I don't expect that of all of you. But it is posted on there, and I could send it to you and get some feedback if people have comments, because it's not yet It's not yet totally passed. We do want to move forward with the immediate items, but some of this stuff requires local law, like these parking spots. I came to learn that it requires a local law to remove parking spots like that, and that the DOT has to be involved with
Yeah.
things that are on Main Street because it's 299, it's a state road, and just like. There's way more bureaucracy than one might imagine in just removing a parking spot. And in terms of, literally the measurements are in the code. So it's kind of involved, but we're working on it, I promise.
That's cool, thank you, Ariane.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for the suggestions.
We got any other community spirit? Okay. In that case, if somebody would make a motion to enter executive session for the discussion of possible discipline items.
I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of personnel, discipline,
Well, you
promotions,
just have,
hiring,
hiring,
firing.
firing, but it's possible discipline item. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.